pipeline, he built a pipeliner, developed surfboards with a hydrodynamic concept in mind. No one had ever really thought that through before, but after that, everyone did.
He's there.
Second changing of the world was a shortboard. That was done in several places, but Dick Brewer's miniguns were actually the ones that worked. That's the important part. Throughout the entire surfing experience, Dick Brewer has been a seminal figure in making surfboards that changed performance from big wave surfing in Waimea to tube-riding and pipeline to, at the end, his third contribution to change the world was the tow-in board. Nearly 3 or 4 generations after the first boards that he made that changed the world. So that's the gentleman that we're commemorating here this afternoon. Very, very important figure in the surfing culture. Someone who, if you're a surfer and you're sitting out here today, or you're a shaper, and I see a lot of really great shapers out here right now, you owe a debt to this man as he helped change the way surfing performance happened. And he was the first, and probably the foremost, shaper in the world. And that's a pretty high title to hold when you consider that that started in the 1950s. So I think what's really key here today is to pay homage to the man and to the contributions he made. I won't say any more about him because I feel totally unworthy to even be up here talking about him. I met Dick when I worked at Surfer Magazine, and just for reference, that was just before the meteor hit that killed the dinosaurs. But that's how long Dick's been making a difference in the surf world. But you're also going to hear from his family, his wife, and the people who were really close to him, and people who made a difference in surfing. And part of that difference was because of the boards they were riding. So what I'd like to introduce right now is the family. And I'd like Chuck and Michael to come up. Chuck and Michael Brewer. I'll let them introduce themselves.
Hello, hello. All right. So my name's Chucky Brewer, according to Dick Brewer, and I'm his nephew, and here speaking on behalf of the Brewer family, specifically his brother Chuck and my Aunt Carol. So first I want to start with a huge mahalo to the North Shore community. It's just unbelievable what you folks have put together. Yeah, we've, tried to do our part, but our part is just minuscule relative to what all of you have done, and it's just too many to name by name, but I will pick a few. Charlene Fu has been absolutely amazing. I just can't thank you enough. Love cannot describe what I have for her now. She is certainly my Hawaiian wife. My wife doesn't think that's funny, but that's what's happened. Jim, of course, for graciously coming along and being the moderator. I mean, he's an amazing guy, amazing history, a depth of history of surfing. Somebody I've always looked up to, so thank you so much, Jim. In addition to that, Darrick, his roots are planted so deep in the ground and in the water, has been just so generous to the Brewer family and loves Dick deeply, and he's going to lead us out in our paddle out. So what could be more special? So thanks, and for those that I'm missing, I'm so grateful. So the epicenter of Uncle Dick's life was here on the North Shore. But his journey began in probably one of the coldest places in the United States, a place called Bemidji, Minnesota. But about 5 years old, Dick was uprooted from the cold, and his dad was drawn away by Douglas aircraft out to California, and certainly became a machinist. And so it's there that the roots of Dick's Dick's mechanical mind, let's say, might have been born. Because Charlie Brewer was a German, very staunch, driven guy, and expected a lot of his sons. And so he demanded of them some expertise, and Dick, he learned the trade. He learned the trade to be a tool and die maker. And so that was, of course, the vision. Like so many of you surfers and shapers here today, the vision was for you to have some other career, and that was Charlie's destiny for Dick Brewer. But Dick Brewer, he had different plans. So Dick has a bit of a turbulent childhood, and with all the movement, mother had stayed back in Minnesota, and Dick and Carol and Chuck, my dad, all came out here to California. But so Dick, kind of passes time with building model airplanes, and that's kind of his first. I mean, most of you think of Dick and balsa wood surfboards, but Dick's for his meticulous attention to detail came from building these small model airplanes, and consistent with the Brewer trait of being the best. Soon he was flying them, and because he's flying every plane he built, so it had to work, and he's now like the champion. He's a champion of model airplane flying, and so Dick ends up with being recognized for that, and in August 1959, he's in Boat and Airplane Flying magazine, snuggled next to a movie star named Sandra Dee, and the photo caption reads, "Under the able direction of Dick Brewer." So, and these weren't remote control airplanes. These were airplanes that were flown with a handle and wires, and he did some amazing things. And so when I say snuggled up, he was snuggled up. So Richard, as Al affectionately calls him, his fascination with airplanes and machines, fast cars.
But my first ever street legal car I bought from Dick Brewer, I think it was a 58 Chevy that he had tuned up and souped up.
It was a blue station wagon,
Blue
right?
Chevy station wagon, 1958. And my parents were aghast. They heard I bought a car from some surfer on the North Shore that I met in Haleiwa, and they went, "Oh no."
It inspired him to enroll in engineering school, of course. And so Dick divided his life between working, because Charlie wasn't letting him off the hook, studying, surfing, and learning to shape. And his quick wit and just raw intelligence. Anybody that knows Dick knew how bright he was. So, but what happened was he came to Hawaii, and it just the gravity of big waves cut short his college education. His gifted hands and his brilliant mind were dedicated to designing and shaping surfboards, and that became his new destiny. But in addition to that, Dick was fearless. He loved to go fast, loved fast cars, motorcycles, and especially fast surfboards. And as Jim was saying, he figured it out rather quickly, and others did too. So the day that Buffalo came along and said, "Hey, Hallie, build me one," that was the day that his surfboard Hawaii Guns became the go-to board for everybody that just loves surfing here in Hawaii. So his influence continued to grow, and in '61 he opens a shop here on the North Shore, Surfboards Hawaii, of course, and soon he's running first professional surf contest here on the North Shore. And but Uncle Dick, he's a clever soul. Got to have a Surfboards Hawaii to be in the contest. So he moves on from Surfboards Hawaii, and his shaping skills remain in demand. And so Dick Metz drafts him, and he's recruited by Hobie. About 1965, you guys all remember that great ad of Buzzy Trent and Dick in the shaping room. So and then a few years later he moves on. He's with Harbor. Soon after that, with Bing, you guys all remember the iconic ad with that high chrome polished planer in his hands. But then Dick and McTavish kind of rocked the world with surfboard length, and of course, RB's miniguns started the shortboard revolution. In this season, he was shaping most any place his planer landed, and a few obscure places, and a few obscure labels emerged, like Lahaina Surf Designs and Hanapepe Surf Shop. And, Dick just continued to evolve and do some of his greatest work. He was with Greek for a bit, shaped under Greek, shaped under Plastic Fantastic. Barry's here today, Inter-Island Surfboards. So he got around. In fact, this is about the time, like you guys signed in the book, in that little picture of him with the tight haircut. That was a little shot out of the Hang 10 ad. That was about 1969. So after kind of moving on from the Surfboards Hawaii label, Jericho Poplar creates the Dick Brewer leg, and the one that we all just love today and we recognize is Dick. And soon his organic, live clean, eat clean, shape clean mantra takes on a new dimension. That new dimension is his first daughter, Lonnie Brewer, is born. Then, so he said he settles down to a steady rhythm of shaping and surfing and living here in the North Shore, and he's blessed with a beautiful daughter, Lisa Brewer. And so, you guys, like, I was chatting it up with Pat Rawson, and Pat's, says, yeah, you remember your shaping room on Chun's? That's where the girls lived. Yeah, they were in the garage, or Dick was in the garage shaping. So Dick's then kind of moved on a bit in the respect that he partners up with some guys from California, and it's in this season that he works with them at the Brewer Lay, and he opens a shop in Honolulu and then in California. Sammy and Al are shaping here in the islands, and Gary Linden, he's shaping the boards over in California. And then they expand the brand, and all of a sudden we've got Dick Brewer Cosmic Riders, and it's a skateboard brand. So and what's kind of cool about this is that Dick vicariously kind of returns to his roots, and his roots were back when Charlie Brewer was teaching him to be a machinist. Those days, it was turning handles and cutting steel. Well, he kind of returns to that season because his dad or his brother Chuck has an injection molding business, and his new partners finance the construction of molds for urethane wheels, because urethane wheels were the rage as they are today. But so they build injection molds, and Dick's involved in that project. But it's what kind of ends his season is, Dick's now speeding down hills on precision bearings. He's moving and things are moving smooth, but going fast is a thrill when you're under control. But RB develops a kind of a little bit of a speed wobble, and life kind of calls him to slow down. And this chapter comes to kind of an end. Things start to take a different twist. And Dick retreats to the shaping room back in Shipley's backyard, and kind of goes underground, but he's still shaping for the biggest and the best. You guys are here today. He was shaping for you still. And but the universe has a way of kind of knowing what you need when you need it. And Dick falls in love with Sherry, and together they retreat to their rural property on Kauai. And Sherry creates a shaping sanctuary, and they're surrounded by balsa grove that they planted. They planted tropical trees together. And this became kind of his quiet spot, but still shaping the best boards in the world. Garrett and Laird. This is about where I think where the toe-in board was created first. And so it's in that season, that Dick has his quiet time, and I think he came to new meaning to that quote that he often had said, "Hey, I do my best work alone. His way of saying, get out of my shaping room, please. So here we go. So Dick Brewer is probably the most respected surfboard shaper in the world. I mean, everybody here today, many of you great in your own right. And some just revere him as if they were his guru. And he's often called the Einstein of surfboards, and some of you kindly in the press have referred to him as the father of the modern day surfboard. So, though he's passed, his memory is going to be most lived through his brother Chuck and his sister Carol, most importantly his wife Sherry and his daughters Lonnie and Lisa. And then the legacy that's going to go on with these beautiful kids over here, Aiden, Roman, and Tustin, and Raquel. You guys are going to carry it on. See? So his surfing legacy will be lived through all of you who shape, all of you who sand and glass surfboards, and then all of you that continue to ride Brewers. So aloha oe.
Aloha oe.
So as is the habit in my life, I always have to follow Chuck when he does a very elegant job of Gerry. So I asked my dad and my aunt Carol, I said, can you give me a couple family stories maybe that we can share? My dad had a laundry list, and I don't think most of them are appropriate for me to share today. But his takeaway was just tell the folks that Dick lived the life that Dick wanted to live. He was just so happy here and found his paradise with Gerry and Kauai. So that was my dad's input. My Aunt Carol she had a couple stories. Some of them were really cute, but the one that was dearest to her heart. They moved from Minnesota, from Bemidji to Compton, California. Dick likes to say that he was from Long Beach. He was right on the cusp. And Aunt Carol wants everyone to know he really was from Compton, California.
Straight out of Compton.
Yeah, straight out of Compton. So Aunt Carol says her earliest memory of Dick had to do with flying. He always had an infatuation with flying. And Grandpa Charlie was a single parent raising these three kids and having trouble with getting help to watch the kids. And Dick was the one that always sort of pushed the help a little bit too far. So they were out playing in the backyard, and Dick says, hey, I want to fly. He's all of 8 years old, and Aunt Carol thinks she's about 5 or 6. So Dick goes in the house and gets a beach towel, climbs up on the roof, and jumps off to fly. And Aunt Carol says, as soon as that happened, they picked him up. Nobody went to the hospital back then. She said they picked him up, they iced his arm, and the maid and her husband really quickly packed up their stuff, loaded up their trailer, and was out before Charlie got home from work. So Dick's always has an infatuation with surfing, with flying, aerodynamics, the model airplanes. It's by no chance that he has ended up as the father of the modern day surfboard. So on behalf of the Brewer family, thank you all for coming. And thank you for your support of Dick and the girls.
Thank you, guys. That little note that he said about flying, you're going to hear a song written about that a little later today. But right now, what I'd like to do is introduce the daughters. Can you guys come up? Maddie and Lisa.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. My name is Lonnie Brewer. So I just wanted to read a little thing that I wrote about my dad. Mr. Brewer, R.B., Dad, you were the Iron Man of surfing. Your end game being to create the perfect board. You were tireless in your craft, using your creative genius mind to pioneer new ways for the brave men and women of the surfing world to slide down larger and more formidable waves. You worked until you could not. When your body and your mind finally gave out, well, You can rest now. Your journey has come to its end. You have left a long legacy of skill and talent in your wake. A multitude of great shapers who you mentored over the years. You have also left your friends and your family. I'm sorry, I'm emotional. With fond memories of your zest for life. Although people sometimes laughed when you spoke of yourself in the third person, they can't deny that you were beguiling, a force of nature that could not completely be tamed. Thank you for the memories of the times we spent together. My only wish is that there could have been more of them. Rest in love, Papa. May your boards slide down the waves of this bay and many others all over the globe for many years to come. Thank you. Aloha. My name is Lisa Ann Lake. I am Richard's youngest child of 3. My name was given to me by my beautiful sister Lonnie, which means God's promise. I was born on Memorial Day, 3 years and 2 weeks after my brother Keoki's birthday, whom tragically died in a car accident as an infant, which left the rest of my family permanently scarred, both physically and emotionally. My sister and I were a blessing to my dad, but I always imagined Keoki's birth, his only son, much like a scene from The Lion King, with my dad holding him up like a golden lion cub above the mountains of Wailua, with so much expectation and promise. Keoki's own intimate paddle out was here on the North Shore, also a place I grew up with wild beach hair, barefoot, riding bikes and ponies with the Sunset Girls at my side. My father spent much of my life engrossed in any ride, craft, thrill, hobby, vice, venture, and fellowship that would help fill the void of this unimaginable loss. Surfing was both central to his life's purpose as much as it was his escape. My wise mama always cautioned me about dating a surfer, as I would never be put first. I have many treasured memories of my dad. My parents gave me life, even after an enormous personal tragedy. It was God's promise for me to be here. Some of my earliest memories are of sweeping his shaping room in Sunset Beach, crazy dust and toxins conjured up everywhere, and yet joyfully doing it because I got to spend precious time with my dad. I loved pretending to be mermaids with my friends at V-Land while waiting for my parents to wrap up their windsurf sessions. Seaweed is an excellent accent piece. I spent magical summers with my dad in heavenly Honolulu, cruising in his beater station wagon to the tunes of Kool and the Gang, which became the soundtrack of my childhood. I waved heart-wrenching goodbyes out of Princeville Plain windows more than I want to recount. He often reminisced about my youth soccer career, bragging about cheering me on from the sidelines at one of my select team games at Haleiwa Beach Park. He walked me down a flower-lined aisle on Keiki Beach to be joined with the love of my life in our promise to each other. Harry, he loved you instantly, as everyone always does, but you were truly a son to him. He beamed at you with a pride that only a father glances at his child. And he got to stand up paddleboard with his grandsons, Hayden and Roman, at the pier of his favorite bay. I only wish he could have had the opportunity to know them better, as I am sure he would have loved to witness their own mathematical, engineering, and athletic ingenuity unfold as much as we have. We were blessed to be able to break bread together as an ohana for one final supper this Valentine's Day. He ordered mahi-mahi, like he always did, even at Sea View Inn in Haleiwa back in the day. I buttered his bread. He ate beets off my vegetarian plate. We talked story, shared photos, we laughed, and I cried. Then we embraced and watched him drive off into that beautiful Kauai sunset
Otzi at the wheel, Sherry by his side, and a fresh tear on my cheek. This would be our final goodbye that we are grateful for. Much like this sacred Waimea Bay, my father has always been a public space to me. A space that has been admired, gifted to, written about, protected, and adored. I have had to share him with so many. His legacy lives on in all of us here. For those of you that were taught and mentored by him, you were blessed with his time and wisdom. But for my Ohana and I, Richard Brewer's legacy is deeply personal. Complex, unique, inspiring, tragic, beautiful, crazy, and at times heartbreaking. We are riding a wave of experiences and emotions that can only be overcome by great faith and fortitude. My hope is for tranquility, much like how this beloved bay reconciles itself from a tumultuous shore break in the winter to a glass-like harbor in the summer. Rest in peace, Dad. I promise to live up to my name and live my life with purpose. We find comfort knowing you will be reunited with Keoki. Say hello to him for us and tell him that he is loved. You too will finally be able to ride that righteous, true north wave together. We cherish the love we had and cherish the life you lived. Mahalo.
Now I'd like to bring up Max and Willie to say a couple of words.
So I'm from Sherry's side of the family. I'm a nephew, and I grew up surfing on Brewers, always waiting until my next birthday or graduation when he'd agree to make me a new one. But it wasn't until later in life that I really realized how lucky I was to be the nephew of an actual legend. Legends never die, but sadly, uncles do. Eventually, they stopped riding golf carts and eating Burger King and grumbling about what size board you ought to be taking out at Honolulu tomorrow. And I feel really grateful for having the opportunity to come out here and live with Dick and Sherry for a couple months this year to help take care of him. And his final days were really comfortable, honestly, really easy and full of papayas and long walks. And it's truly all because of Sherry. It blew my mind to see how hard it was for her taking care of him 24/7 without help. And she just really never left his side. Making his papayas, feeding him spoon by spoon. And he was an adorable husband to watch over 3 decades of marriage, and a real smile from Sherry still made his whole face light up. He'd just have that sheepish grin and say, "My baby." Yeah, her love was really his life force. And I really believe without her that he would have been gone a long time ago. So thank you, Sherry. I was really honored when she asked me to make his funeral poster, and the process of making it turned out to be this really beautiful, sentimental journey through his life. Because I got like thousands of photos from Sherry and a bunch of old friends and family, and going through all of them was like this beautiful, nostalgic journey through this man's life. And what a life this man lived. He was an engineer. He was an artist, a craftsman, a pioneer, a starry-eyed haole who fell in love with surfing and never looked back. A vanguard whose boards made it possible to ride waves that no one ever dreamed of. It's really rare in life to know someone as laser-focused on their life purpose as my Uncle Dick was. He just found his passion and he never turned away from it. He was shaping boards until he literally couldn't lift his planer anymore. A couple months ago, I was taking him on a little wheelchair ride in the backyard, and he led us back to the shaping room, and he could barely walk or talk at that point. But every time I helped him into that room and put a tool in his hand, it was like flipping a switch. His hands just start gliding over the foam like this old familiar thing. So keeping his memory is not going to be hard. Keeping his memory alive. Actually, it's going to be totally impossible. Not just because I stare at his name the whole time I'm surfing on my board, but also there's the drink coasters, there's the t-shirts, the stickers, the hats. For a man that never said much about himself, he was incredibly well branded. Always wearing shirts and hats with his own name on them, partly because he just didn't care what he was wearing, and they were free, but also because, I think because he was truly proud. Proud of the gifts that he gave to the world, to all of us. I'll think of that old sand crab whenever I paddle out, especially when I'm out at Honolulu and one of those fat turtles pokes its head up right next to me in the lineup. Even before he died, I always imagined Dick would come back as one of those, just like popping up out of nowhere in between sets, looking cool as a cucumber, saying, "You should have brought the 9-0." Wherever you are now, Uncle, I hope they have waves. Actually, I hope whatever they've got isn't rideable yet, because I'm sure you'd find that much more exciting. Whatever it is, I'm sure you're already prototyping. I'm gonna miss you, old sand crab.
I'm Willie. I'm Sherry's brother. Sister. I wanted to thank the Brewer family for coming out, and I really appreciated the history about Dick. I did a lot of thinking about that on my way over here. And when I met Dick was probably after he and Sherry. Close to when they got married. I met him a few times, very vaguely. Dick was not a real talker. You could sit there with him all day and he wouldn't say much at all unless you know. And I'd always tell my sister, "I don't think he likes me. He doesn't talk to me right now." I did get to spend quite a bit of time with him, many years back, and I had no idea what a genius he was. I grew up surfing, and Gator and Bane were my two favorite boards. I had no idea that Dick had anything to do with Bane at that time. But that was my favorite, and I always wanted a nice Bing. And but as I got to know Dick a little bit, they had the most beautiful wedding in Kauai. It was adorable. Everybody was crying, and it was in this small church, and it was very, very romantic. And then after that, I got to know Dick a little bit better, and I realized, that if you don't talk to him, he's not going to talk. And I just thought of him as this great surfboard shaper, but what I found out later, when you actually got a conversation going with Dick, he was an engineer at heart, and he'd always talk to me about the aerodynamics of surfing, and I'm like, what is that? It's like, what does that have to do with surfing? But he could go on for hours about that, and he really had it figured out. And he was a very interesting man. When I met him, he was already very well accomplished, and he had accomplished a lot. And then he just kept continuing. You heard about all the surfboard companies that he worked with, and all the famous guys, and the other shapers. I lived here on the North Shore when I was 18. I knew a lot of those guys back then, and I know a lot of them are here today. Unfortunately, Dick had a decline that lasted actually a couple of years, and my sister Sherry and Dick were very much in love. One of the things Max mentioned was he would always say, "I love you, baby. I love you, baby." And I'm like, and he would say that all the time. He'd be at dinner with people and he would just shout it out, "I love you, baby. She's my baby." It was almost like a little kid, but it was really beautiful because he was very much in love with Sherry, and I think Sherry was his stone, that kept him grounded. He'd been bouncing around a lot, and I think when they moved to Kauai, they had a beautiful life. He would do just anything in the world for Sherry. she decided not to put him in hospice. She decided not to put him in, an elderly home. She brought him home and took care of him. He loved life. He loved the surfing world. He loved the ocean. And I want to thank all of you for showing up today. He is a legend, will continue to be a legend. And we just have to keep living with his legend.
Thank you.
Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to bring someone up right now to make a couple of announcements, but really the reason I'm bringing them up is because they need a big thank you. She is a woman who professes to not know much about surfing, but she was Mark Fu's sister, and a wonderful, wonderful lady who's put this together. So, Shirley, please come up.
I just want to thank everybody. We know this is from love and respect for Dick, and especially my great friend Sherry. But what I want to tell you about my Dick story is I didn't even live in Hawaii. I was on the mainland. Mark was here, my family was here. And I get this call from this guy saying, can I bring my friend Dick? We're going up the East Coast promoting I don't know what, because I'm not into surfing at that point. And can we camp on your floor? And that's how I met Dick. He was sleeping on my floor in Alexandria, Virginia, of all places. That was before I met Sherry, before I met anybody. That was my big introduction to Dick Brewer. I didn't know who the hell he was, but he was sleeping on my floor. But then when I moved to Hawaii, and then I met Sherry, and one of my other favorite memories is they always stayed with me. And one of my favorite things is we're getting Dick's breakfast ready, we're getting Dick's lunch ready to take down to him, and we're always cooking him dinner. And that was the devotion that came from Sherry that took such good care of him. And I love being a part of that. And thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you.
Every memorial wouldn't be complete without a little song. And today we have one that was specially written for a eulogy by Joe Green, and he's going to perform it now. Listen to the words. I think you'll understand what I was saying about when we talked about flying with Dick and about his dreams.
Okay. Hey, thank you so much. This song is about a woman that Dick had a very close relationship with, and I think there's several other people here. Matter of fact, I think most of the crowd here has had a relationship with this woman, and she is our Mother Ocean. She's calling me, guess I'll slide away. Got to feel her touch most every day. She's warm and she's wild, calls me her child. I want to her touch. She's my Mother Ocean. How I love her. And often she rages, it's anticipated. We wait by her side, hear the winds cry. When her anger subsides, on her momentum we glide, and dance in her tide. You know she's taking it all of these years. Look her in the eye, You know, I'd like to also dedicate not only to Dick, but to Peter Cole and Greg Knoll, who we really haven't been able to do what we'd like for him. I hope he's peaceful in where he is now, as we all will, and we'll all join in one day.
I thought it would be really appropriate to have some of the people who are legends themselves, who've been involved with Dick Brewer over the years in different ways and different times. I'm the first person I'm going to have come up here, if they'd like, or I could bring the microphone to you, whichever. Joy Cabell. Joy is, as I said to him when I asked him to speak, I said, you know, it's just one king paying homage to another. So I'd like to give you a big round of applause, Mr. Joy Cabell.
Mahalo to be here with this great group of some of the best surfer shapers on the North Shore. I am very, very honored. Mahalo. Okay, I knew Dick first of all in California before he came to Hawaii. I saw him at Makaha and Sunset in the very early days, and we became friends. He was surfing, I was surfing. He was a goofy foot. Somehow he was always in the front of me as a goofy foot, and that was all right. Anyway, so while we were friends at that time, I said to Dick, you know, I want you to go. I'm living on Kauai now, and Kauai has some of the best surf in the Hawaiian chain, and we've been keeping it quiet. We didn't want anybody to come, like we didn't go around telling everybody, come to have the best surf, Honolulu, at 20 feet. You get in these stand-up tubes on a west swell, you'll never forget it in your life. Anyway, I said, Dick, come to Kauai. And that he did. I taught him the idea of coming to Kauai, and that's why he moved to Kauai. And the story is history from that point on. The shaping and the shaping rooms and all the connections he has with everybody. It was really a pleasure to be part of knowing this wonderful, wonderful person. Quiet, but yet he had so much to give, and it's pretty obvious. You can look around this park here and you can see all the creations that Dick Brewer left behind. Anyway, I just want to thank you. I know the time is limited, and I'm honored to be here, and thank you very much. Mahalo.
I'd like to call up Pat Rawson, and I think everyone knows what a shaper he is. So, please.
Hi, this is a great group. It's an honor to be here. I met Dick in the mid-70s. The surfboard industry was so small at that time. It was before we had the boom in Japan, so all of us knew each other really well, and especially the North Shore builders, and of course Dick was very prominent. We became friends. And then he had to go back to California, which was, you know, for medical reasons, different reasons, business reasons. And when he came back, he needed a shaping room. So we were friends. I said, why don't you come, you can shape up in Pupukea with me. I mean, oh, what an opportunity. Dick was such an encyclopedia of surfboard knowledge. You know, we all know what he's done, his contributions, all those things, but I had the best opportunity in my life, and I asked a lot of really good questions. I didn't waste any time, and he gave me some great answers. And this was like late 70s, beginning of 1980, so we were still making single fins, and my dream was just to make a really good high-performance gun. And I had the best man in the world to help me. You know, one of the things that was really amazing of Dick as a teacher, and I call him a teacher, I feel like he was a mentor to me. I was one of his younger group, under Al and Sammy and those guys, is he never really looked down on me. I always felt like, even though he was 19 years older than I was, he was there. I could talk to him, you know, it wasn't like he was looking down at me. And I always thought about him as the most passionate shaper I ever met. He really loved building surfboards. He was obviously really good at it. And I think the best thing that I remember telling him a long time ago, I go, when I'm your age, I hope I'm as passionate as you are. And he was 19 years older than me. So he was good on that level. I think the passion was there, and it was really evident. We this year we made 15 surfboards. Actually, Steve Morgan, who was another mentor, made these 15 boards, and they were to be sold off, and the proceeds were going to go toward the Dick Brewer documentary, which is being finished right now as I speak. So he flew from Oahu with Sherry, and he'd sit there and did boards while he was in a walker. And there's videos and pictures of him, but every board he touched it. He grabbed the rail. I mean, he actually cared. And it took him a while to sign, but I call that passion. And finally, I think what my legacy is with him too, the final of it was, in 2009, he was the honorary shaper of, they used to call it then, the Sacred Craft. And I won that competition, which was really special to me. It was really emotional. He was my teacher. I really wanted that one. I competed in a bunch of other ones, but I didn't care. And ironically, last year, I was the honored shaper at the boardroom in San Diego. And Dick and Sherry flew over and came there to honor me, but also it was Dick's really his last public appearance. And I remember sitting with him up in the stand. We were looking aboard, and it was actually Alan Sarlo's gun. And I just thanked him, and he looked over at me. I said, I wouldn't even be up on this honor if it hadn't been for my experience with you. So I just wanted to say that. I'm going to miss him a lot.
It's perfect time to bring up Alan Sarlo. Have a few words.
It's an honor to be here. So when I first come to the North Shore in the late 70s, early 80s, my best friends were Darrick Doerner and Mark Fu and Bobby Owens. And I'm out there surfing Sunset, and they're going, if you really want to surf Sunset, you should get a Brewer. And I'm like, okay. So, with that little talking with Darrick and Mark, and those guys had covers of surfer magazines, I got a shaping appointment with Dick, and I'm in the room with Dick, and Dick's taking his time and looking at me, and it was so elegant, and I was just like, wow, this board's gonna be really magical. So, of course, it gave you the confidence to drop in on the West Peak, and some 35 years later, I'm in my house at Sunset Point, and I got Dick Brewer, just me and Dick at the dining room table, and I go, oh my God, I gotta ask him a question. What am I gonna ask him? And I go, hey Dick, what's with the lay and your name in there? And I go, what's the meaning about that? And he looked at me and he goes, I just want to spread the aloha to all the surfers who ride my boards. And I was like, yeah. But I think Dick made all our lives better, and just so happy to know him. I also want to say Sherry did an incredible job the last few years. I never heard Dick complain one time. It's amazing.
I don't need to introduce this gentleman, but if you've ever heard of a Mr. Pipeline, this is one of them right here.
Dick started making boards, I don't know, 62, 63, somewhere in there. But I remember Dick made him a brand new red board, not a gunny shape, but kind of a fast long board, and double 10-ounce glass rack in those days. And so Dick tells Butch to come get the board, and Butch comes into the shop. This is when the shop was across from McDonald's in Haleiwa. And it's a brand new, highly glossed red board. Butch takes a look down and he goes, you got a hacksaw? So he takes the hacksaw and he just scratches the heck out of the deck. Now it'll hold wax. And the glassers and both the glassers are going, no. So he was an older father type figure to us, and Kiki Spangler was one of the older guys from town because he was old enough to drive. He could get a car from Jimmy Lucas's dad to ride a car lot, and then they would bring me, because I didn't have a car, from my mom's house down the road here up to Pipeline when I was like 14, 15 years old. And we, after 5 or 6 days of pulling up to our neck, we finally go, okay, we angle, we paddle in early, and we finally learned a little bit, and we owe most of it to Dick's boards and his great influence. But there'll be more stories later on. Thank you, folks.
So I'm just going to ask Buzzy Kerbox to come up and say a few words. This is the third one. This is the toe-in.
Well, my memories of Dick, I'm not sure when I first met him, but I remember having a meeting with him set up to shape me a board in '77, and his little shaping room was out the back at Sunset. And I got there, right on time and knocked on the door. And he was late, but he finally showed up, and we went in. And I said, I want a 6'6". I'm going to South Africa, and I want to ride this place, Jeffreys Bay. So we got the blank out, and then he had all these templates, little pieces, and he'd go, well, this is Sam Hawk's template from Pipeline, this is Michael Ho, and he pieced together all these different templates to make my little 6'6". And then with the handsaw, he just sat there and he cut it out, and then stood it up at the end, and we'd look at it, and I go, that looks great. And then he goes, okay, come back in a couple hours, and it'll be done. And I'm not sure if he told me to leave, or when the planer started going and there was dust flying, I thought that might have been a good time to leave. I can't remember. But when I came back, it was like I didn't tell him how to make the board. I just told him what I wanted to do. And that information went into his brain, and out came the perfect board. And unfortunately, it didn't get ready to test until it was ready the day before my trip to South Africa. So I took that board all the way to South Africa, got it to Jeffreys Bay, and I hoped it worked. And I got on one of those beautiful waves at Jeffreys Bay, and the board just worked like a dream. And Dick was just a master. Other guys would tell him how to shape it. I just told him what I wanted to do. He put that in and create the perfect board. And I've been riding Dick Brewer's intermittently throughout my life, and he's just you'll be missed by me and many people. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Jack Reeves probably knows Dick Brewer as well as anybody who worked with him in the shaping room.
So,
Okay.
There you go.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Anyway, wow.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. So I met Dicker in the early '70s. Gary Chapman came from the East Coast. At Country Surfboards, and we got along well, and I started working for him through the years, and he made me some great boards, and we became good friends. And gosh, what can I say? I mean, he was a great shaper. I love the guy, the time's gone by, and I really miss him. I really miss him. Aloha, Dick.
From the mainland, his reach was far and wide, and they started very early with him as a protege and built themselves an incredible reputation as well. And asked Gerry Linden to come up and say a few words. Gerry.
What an incredible honor to be here and talking in front of all of you with all your wonderful stories about one of the greatest men I ever met. And I just want to say that he changed the surfing world, but he changed my life too. Greatest opportunity of my whole life was getting to work, shape for Brewer surfboards, and work with the Brewer shaping team. It was Sam Hawk and Al Chapman and Dick Brewer, and I've been shaping for about 10 years, and I got the opportunity to manage the factory. And I said I'd do it, but only if I could shape too. I thought I was ready, and so I jumped in with the Lions, and and took advantage of it, and it just gave me the springboard, the self-confidence to have a career, and I'll be forever grateful. And every gun I shape, I think about him, because to me, my greatest memory was him loading me his personal board to surf Waimea my first time, and it was a Cadillac. It was just such a beautiful board, and it worked so good, and it just inspired me to chase a long dream of riding some big waves. And you know, you can look at a lot of people's boards that shape, and they haven't ridden any big waves, and they don't always feel that right. But you pick up one of Dick's, and you know it'll handle whatever coming your way. And Dick Brewer was a shaper so that he could surf better. That's why he shaped. I mean, I know, because that's why I shape. I really don't care if anybody else likes the boards. I'm doing it for me, and if you like it, that's good. And I think Dick kind of told me that was okay. And as far as the industry goes, I think one of the biggest ways of sharing that Dick did was by making the blank mold. When I first started shaping and we wanted to make a bigger board, they were about 6 inches thick and had a dome deck, and we used to buy them because you got a lot of practice in one blank, you know, because you had to cut so much, learn how to use the planer. But then Dick came out with the 7.4 Sunset Beach blank for Clark Foam, flat deck, boxy rails, foam distributed all through the board, gonna go fast, catch a lot of waves, and the secrets were all there. All you had to do is follow the lines. So Dick, bottom of my heart, thank you for the opportunity to live this wonderful life I did. My dad told me at one point when I didn't have much money, he said, well, you didn't set your goals of making money, but I'm proud of you. You took our name around the world, and you touched a lot of people, and that's how I would like Dick to be remembered. He touched every one of us that's still alive in the surfing world. Every time we go surfing, we're riding one of his designs, and thank you very much.
Thinking about it, one of the epitomes of Dick's boards, like Gerry was saying, that the secrets that were in there and the magic of them, like Buzzy was saying, you know, he never rode the board, but yet, you know, he got over there our first time, and of course the feel of it will tell you something. But Dick in the fall of '66 made a couple of boards that were like 10.4. Okay, it sounds like a big board nowadays, but the rails were full on these boards. They were a big weight board. This is the early days of streamlined guns, going back to the work of like Wally Forsyth and Pat Kern, people like that, and as well as a couple of San Diego people like different Pat. Hey Jim, was it Pat Nelson? Am I getting that right? San Diego. These people, Wally Forsyth was one of the first guys to shape some of the really good riding big wakeboards. But Dick made these 10.4s. David Nueva got one. Jimmy Lucas got one. I got one. And these boards, even though they were kind of designed for 10-12 to 20, 25 foot waves, that they would actually ride 3 to 5 foot waves too, because they were so easy to turn. They're completely magic boards. Just wanted to say that.
This is Mr. Jim Yarborough. We had to coax him a lot to get him up here, but we're really glad that he came.
Well, I don't know what to say.
Hell yeah!
But it's been a great journey. He was a great coach, mentor, teacher, shaping partner, and my best friend. And he gave me a dream come true. It began when I was 8 years old, 1961. That's when he created Surfboards Hawaii. I learned to surf in Galveston, Texas. The Duke Mocha went to Galveston, introduced surfing, and it made big news. And he was a hero of mine because he was a swimmer, epic swimmer, and I was a competitive swimmer. So I fell in love with surfing and had a dream. And came to Hawaii after I just about finished college. I took a little break before I was supposed to graduate, and I never graduated. But anyway, I had a great journey with him. Almost 40 years. I was his helper. That was my role. So that's what I'll continue to do. Roll on.
You sent in some eulogies, and Jack would like to read one from Mr. Jeff Hackman, who probably did more for being a test pilot for Brewer than anyone else I can think of, and a fabulous surfer. And he sent this that Jack's going to read.
Okay. It says, Brewer, Dick was a visionary, kind and generous soul. He was my friend, and there was nothing we both enjoyed more than getting in the shaping room and creating. Dick had no boundaries when it came to vision. He was open to anything. That was his strength and what made him great. Dick was responsible for me getting started in big waves on the North Shore, and also for my contest success. I'm going to miss you, Dick. Our talks together about design, our time covered in the foam dust, and our laughter reminiscing, and our stories. You are the best. And if I may, this is like 1974 or 5, Dick shaped Jeff a 9-foot board, which at that time was a very big board. It wasn't really, it just wasn't, it was a big board. Jeff took it and surfed it on a 4-foot day at Laniakea, brought it back to the shop and said, I think it's a little too loose. Dick got this really funny look on his face. He said, hold on to it. Pulled out a saw, sawed off the tail. Brand new board, ridden once. Said, we're going to put a new tail on it. Well, that never happened, but that's a story for another day.
Here you go.
So here it is. Dick and I shaped it at Gerry's shop in Oceanside. Where's Gerry? Over there. Thanks for letting us use your shop, Gerry. But this board surfed Jaws, Mavericks, Todos, Waimea, all the outer reefs, and Makaha. And Dick taught me to shape, and I lived with Sherry, Dick, and Kauai, and that was my life dream. So I wrote him letters starting in high school, and then when I was about 30, he said I could come over and learn to shape. And he never brought it up, but we shaped a couple hundred boards. And then at the airport in Lahui, when I was leaving, he said, remember those letters you wrote in high school? I still have them. And I think a lot of people here have boards like this, that they have a lot of magic. And I love you, Dick. What's up? How are you?
Thank you, Lyle.
What a gut wrencher.
I'd like to ask everybody to do is just kind of get your boards, get your suits on. It's Darrick Doerner. Darrick, are you here?
Okay, everybody. This is Double D for all you people out there paddling, swimming.
I'll bring it with me. Here's where they're going. They're going in.
Follow us.
Oh, okay. That would be easy. Less wind, so you could probably catch it.
Clouds are low, can't see the mountains, feel the wind is moving slow. The stage before a breeze begins, it's time for rain. Time to feed the plants and trees, the sky will cry. Her tears will bring life to the sea. Nature seems full of dreams unending. A native man cups his hands and drinks. Morning comes, the sun awakens from the sea, the morning light touches all so quietly. It's time for day, time to rise and lift your eyes and look around at nature's gift beneath the sky. Nature seems full of dreams unending. Cups his hands and drinks. In his hands is a land unending, full of life. It is right to drink. Night clouds are low, can't see the mountains, feel the wind is moving slow. The stage before a breeze begins, it's time for rain. Time to feed the plants and trees, its sun will cry. Her tears will bring life to the sea. Nature seems full of dreams unending. A native man cups his hands and drinks.